This is the Untold Italy Travel Podcast, and you're listening to episode number 46.
Ciao and benvenuti to Untold Italy. I'm Josie.
And I'm Katie, and we're here to help you plan your trip to Italy.
Between us, we have many years of travel experience, and we want to help you uncover your own, as yet untold stories and adventures in Italy.
Each episode you'll hear practical advice, tips and ideas to help you plan your own trips to the magical land of history, stunning landscapes and a whole lot of pasta.
We'll have interviews from experts and focus on local destinations and frequently asked questions about travel in Italy.
Thanks for listening and make sure to subscribe to our show.
Now let's get started on your regular dose of Bella Italia.
Buongiorno, ciao everyone, it's Katie here and I hope you are all well and bringing a little piece of Italy into your life every day. I just realised this morning that it was a year ago that I was having lunch with a friend in Orvieto. We had stopped off there on our way to Florence from Rome, and it was such a fun day, and even though I was jet lagged in a way that you can only be when you travel 24 hours by plane from Australia, I remember being very excited and happy to be walking around this beautiful town and enjoying my truffle pasta and first gelato in Italy for quite some time. Wow, a lot has changed since then, hasn't it? But one thing that hasn't changed at all is how much I value my friends and the amazing times I have had in Italy. Earlier this week, I announced our new private membership group, Untold Italy Insiders, that we created especially for people like you who want to keep their dreams of Italy flourishing while we wait out this season. In Insiders, you'll meet my friends from Italy and around the world and start building on your knowledge of Italian culture, food and wine. So when you finally get there, and you will, you have a better understanding of what is happening around you and you can soak it all up just like a piece of bread in pasta sauce. As soon as you sign up, you get instant access to our private Facebook community, Untold Italy Insiders, and our membership site where you'll find a 20-page guide to Rome full of all my secret addresses and laid out in easy to follow format, so planning is a cinch. There's an Italian wine 101 cheat sheet and Chianti briefing, which includes secret addresses of wineries you will want to visit, hand selected by Giovanni, our wine expert. There's also a recipe and cooking video for my favourite dish, melanzane parmigiana. That's eggplant parmigiana, and it's brought to you by Holly and Gianluca in beautiful Capri. Plus, there's a wonderful presentation on the highlights of Pompeii by Danielle, our art historian. Now, as it is the first week of our venture, we have also released some special bonuses for our founding members who sign up this week. And that's our sample 5-day itinerary for Rome printable, which has all the details of how you can make the most of your time in Rome. And it's an itinerary that can be customised easily for fewer or more days, and it goes hand in hand with the guide I created for the group. Plus, there's a 1-page Rome planner with a link to a Google map that will save you buckets of time trying to organise your time in Rome. So don't miss out, come and join us at untolditaly.com Insiders. We can't wait to see you there, and of course there's a link to this in the show notes. Okay, now on to today's episode, which is such a thrill for me. We are talking about the southern area of Puglia with cookbook author, photographer and tour guide Paola Bacchia from Italy on My Mind. I've been following Paola for years thanks to her dreamy photography that perfectly captures the Italian light and mouth-watering recipes that are straightforward to prepare. Paola was born in Australia, in Melbourne, just as I am, to Italian parents and travels to Italy every year, except this one of course, to reconnect with her family and friends, run food tours and research her next cookbook. I've asked her along on the show today to talk to us about Puglia, where she spent a lot of time researching her book, Adriatico, and where she'll be hosting a tour in 2021. So let's welcome her onto the show. Ciao Paola, benvenuta, and welcome to the Untold Italy podcast.
Hi Katie, thank you so much for inviting me to be on this. I'm really excited to be on with you today, chatting rather than
Yeah,
being in lockdown.
I know. Me too, Val. I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have you join us today. I have followed your beautiful blog and its mouth-watering recipes for years, and your most recent cookbook, Adriatico, was a huge inspiration for adding Puglia to our sadly cancelled trip this year. So you inspired me, but I'm wondering what inspired you to first visit and now continue exploring Puglia.
Well, Puglia. So my family, I'll talk just a little bit about my background and why Puglia fits into that. So my family is from the Adriatic coast of Italy, like right up the top, hence the book Adriatico. So dad is from what is now Croatia, but it was Italy at the time, the Istrian Peninsula, and mum is from Veneto. And so, the times I've been to Italy has always been on particularly when I was younger, and when we lived there, I did a couple of years of school there too when our family moved over. We were around that area, around Trieste, Monfalcone, Gorizia, and there are a lot of Pugliesi that live up there. In fact, after World War II, because Trieste is a contested zone. There's quite a large Slovenian population, so they wanted to make it a bit more Italian. So they moved up a whole lot of Pugliesi, which is really quite interesting. Hence, I knew quite a few. My mum did too. Her best friend was from Bari, and one of my cousins is married a Pugliese in Monfalcone. So I have sort of known about Pugliese and known about their food and I guess their generosity, the types of people they are, from these connections around Trieste. So, but I didn't go there because, I'd go to Trieste, and then in probably when I started my blog and then started looking at writing cookbooks, I thought, I've got to explore a bit more of Italy than just, Rome and Florence and the part of Venice and the part of Italy that I knew, which was Friuli, Venezia Giulia and Veneto. So when I was researching Italian street food, I went on a 3-week trip in 2015 to do the research. Street food really took me down to Puglia, and so I was so excited to actually go down there. And once I was there, I've since been back 5 or 6 times. I fell in love initially with the food, but also the whole connection with the people. It felt very familiar but different. And it's also along the Adriatic coast. I just feel this absolute connection with all the places around. The Adriatic is a connector of people, even over the other side of the Adriatic into the Balkans and of Greece. It's this sort of little subculture thing. So completely drawn to Puglia. And then it was the look of it. I'm not sure. Have you been to Puglia, Katie?
I haven't yet. No, that was a plan for March.
That was the plan for March. So, the appearance of it, it's a really long, narrow region that spans the heel of the boot of Italy and right up to that spur. You know how there's a little spur at the back of the boot, a peninsula that sticks into the Adriatic. So it's got a massive coastline, and from the part that's around the heel, it's really quite different in appearance to the northern part. So in the southern part, it's flat. The land is really red coloured, and there are olive trees that are thousands of years old that dot this beautiful red landscape. So when you fly in, you see these fields of massive olive trees. It's a really quite a rural, flat area. It's got an incredible feel. I just fell in love with the look of it. It looks so almost not Italian, or not Italian the way I know Italy, which is more the north of Italy. And then there's the northern part that I went to some research for my second book, Adriatico. So that was a 3-month journey along the whole coastline of Italy that we drove along, which was an amazing experience. And we spent a week in the Gargano, which is that spur that sits out of the boot. And that is covered by this ancient forest. It's one of the, it's the oldest forest in Italy. It contains the oldest trees, and it's on this big plateau, and then the coast dropped down onto the water to these beautiful beaches and the towns of Peschici and Vieste and Rodi, and it's just stunning. And then again, the food and the generosity of the people.
Wow. It is something that I was completely drawn to as well. And as you mentioned, the sea. It's the call of the sea and that beautiful like azure blue waters. And also there's those little fishing piers that they have there that I just
That's a bit further north. So that's the very top of the Gargano Peninsula. There's a couple of them. They're called trabocchi, and then there's a whole lot as you go out of Puglia in past Molise and up to Abruzzo. That's what you're talking about, isn't it? Those fishing piers, the
yes.
trabocchi. Mm.
Beautiful. Yeah. It's just
Mm.
you're right. I think the landscape is very unique compared to other parts of Italy. And I think that's really what is intriguing and interesting about Italy as well, is you have these one pictures in your mind, but then you don't have to go very far to find other unique landscapes.
No, I mean the whole of Italy's got a big mountain range right down the middle of it, and it's like this peninsula that juts out into the Mediterranean. So you've got so many beaches, and this mountain range right in the middle that stops short of Puglia though, but it's particularly the southern part, the Salento, or the tip of the boot, the heel of the boot. So it is really diverse, and you've got everything there. You've got mountains, you've got beaches, you've got, you've got the culture, you've got the people. I love it. I love Puglia. I think after, and, Friuli Venezia Giulia, because I'm from there, and Veneto is close to my heart because of the very familiarity of it. But Puglia is definitely my, right up there.
Wow. Amazing. So there's so many things that I wanted to do and see, but if you were a first time visitor, where would you start?
Okay, so I mean, there are, as I said before, there are two distinct areas of it: the Gargano, which is the spur of the boot, and then the heel. And the heel is the part that most people go to because it's got, and you land in through the two major airports there, which is Bari or Brindisi. And Brindisi is further south. So the towns to go to, I think Bari is unmissable. It's right on the water, as are many towns in Puglia, and it's got an old town which is pretty much untouched through these town walls, called Bari Vecchia, which means old Bari. So it's got there's not many cars in old Bari because the streets are too narrow. And there's all the original buildings. They haven't knocked them down and put in, a new condominium or a supermarket within the walls of the old town. So it has this incredible feel. If you walk around and you can smell, in Puglia, they've got the front door of the house opens directly onto the road, like with no yard, and they keep their doors open all the time because it's warm down there. The weather's really good, so they keep it open. And you can smell people cooking, like their meal around lunchtime. You can smell all the food. Some of them even cook outside. They put their little barbecue thing and cook the fish in the street so that the house won't smell of fish. So Bari, and in Bari, of course, you have to go to the street where you see the ladies rolling the orecchietti. And they're ladies who sit outside their home and they roll orecchietti, and they roll them so quickly. And I put a video of one on my Instagram, and it was a lady, she was talking on the phone, she was holding her mobile phone like between her ear. I'm actually showing you the gesture. You can't see me because we're not on video, but I'm putting my head down to my shoulder and holding up the phone and talking really loud and just rolling these orecchietti there for like half an hour. It was hilarious because she was so fast. So Bari is an absolute unmissable place. Another place is, if you like ceramics, to go to a town called Grottaglie, which is more towards the Ionian coast. So it's within that heel. And Grottaglie is known for those ceramics that are, that speckled pattern. Have you seen that speckled pattern on plates where it looks like they throw spots everywhere? So it's a ceramic town. And, they've got like shops that are open and, buses of people drop in and go to visit the workshops which are open, and they will show you they're throwing the pottery on the wheel and they're shaping it and then they're painting it. And that is absolutely beautiful. Then you should go to an olive oil press. So Puglia is known for its high-quality olive oil. Now, up until about 100 years ago, these olive oil presses were all underground. So Puglia, particularly the south, being a poorer region or more rural region, there's not very much industry there even now, so it looks very flat. And their olive oil was pressed underground, and that's because underground you can maintain a temperature of above 6 degrees, which is the temperature at which olive oil goes freezes or goes solid. Okay. And these presses, you see these amazing stone things underground that used to be pulled by horses like 2,000 years ago, and they're still there. Like so much of Puglia under these masserie, if you know where you're going, it's like a museum that is not controlled by a museum. It's run by private people. And you can just go in there and walk on these stones from 2,000 years ago and see these stone presses where the horses would sleep underground. They'd go through this massive hole and stay there for a long period of time. And the donkeys and the men would stay down there too because they worked under there to make the olive oil. And the other thing that there are so many things to see in Puglia. Another thing is there are religious processions. So they decorate the towns with things called luminarie, which are like wooden structures that are quite intricate, and they have small lights on them, and they light them up at night time. I don't know if you've seen photos, to make these beautiful patterns, and they line the road and form archways over the road, and they will put them up often for religious festivals like around Easter and the Annunciation. They're really quite religious towns. So if you happen to turn up in a town that has and there's websites where you can find out when they are, all of the town get dressed up, and they follow the wooden Madonna on a platform being carried through the town under the archways. If it's during the daytime, the lights aren't lit, but then at night time they're all lit and everyone has a really big party. So, yeah, a religious festival is an incredible way to experience the real, off the beaten track Puglia.
I think that is an absolutely amazing and must-do tip. I mean, we saw something similar in Sicily, and I'm not really religious myself, but it was really very moving because everyone is so, involved, the whole community is involved, and everyone's getting dressed up, and there's special foods that go with it. It's a very amazing cultural experience, actually.
Yeah, it is, and the whole town gets involved and gets behind the priests, and they're all dressed up. There was one procession that I saw in the town of Maglie, which they have on Good Friday, or maybe it's Holy Thursday, and the band that play, because there's also a band playing while they're there, and they get dressed up in dinner suits.
Oh, cute.
And they do this long, trek of the town of, many kilometres, and stopping in at different churches, and hold a Madonna dressed in black.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah. It's so far removed from our life here in Melbourne, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but it really shows the spirit of the community, which I love about, the whole of Italy. You'll find villages that have a real community spirit, but I think the people in the south are very warm-hearted and open and, wanting to share their traditions. I think it's an amazing experience.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I'm such a nosy person that I would actually love the fact that the doors are open so I can have a little nosy inside and look at what they're cooking. And
yeah, but you stop and ask them. You need to speak Italian, but, allora cosa cucini per pranzo? What are you making for lunch? Tell me about it. And they'll give you a recipe. In fact, I'll tell you something about my research for my cookbooks. This is what I do, is I stop and I ask people. I go to a market and I say, well, what would you make with that? So tell me, how would you do it? They mightn't give me the complete recipe, but I work it out. So that's what you do in Puglia too. When you smell something good, you say, my God, what are you making? How did you make it? And they're very excited to tell you.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I saw one thing from your blog which just made me so hungry before, which is this octopus sandwich.
Oh, the one that we had in Otranto.
Yeah. Oh, that looks so good.
Otranto is an incredible, Otranto is only 80 kilometres from Albania. across the Adriatic Sea. That's what I mean about like the connection with. And so at a time when you couldn't travel inland, like we've got cars, we can do it, but you try on those mountains, crossing mountains with a horse and cart, couldn't do it. So, you were connected by boat. So that's why the Balkans are actually quite close in culture. Also, the tip of Puglia, like the heel of the boot, has been invaded so many times because it's just jutting out into the sea. Of course, pirates are going to come and invade it by the Greeks, by the, everyone. So that's the really beautiful mix of cultures. But getting back to the octopus sandwich, so Otranto is, again, a walled town that's got a castle, and it's all white. So there's a lot of towns that are painted all white, like Ostuni. Otranto also looks very white. And Otranto is right on the water. And there's, at night time, particularly when the sun sets, people try to get into spots where you can see, the sun dropping on the water. And this place where they sold the octopus, they sold only sandwiches that had various fillings. It was really close to a viewpoint down to the water and to the sunset. And so it was a grilled octopus, because there's a lot of octopus along the coast of, and other, cuttlefish and squid along the coast of Puglia and in the Adriatic. And it was char grilled, and it was with a cheese called stracchino. Now, stracchino is a cheese that, like, there are a few people who make it here, but it's not like the Italian one. It's sort of a runny, fresh curd cheese that's very high in fat content and creamy. And you think cheese with fish, really? But it was so good. It was so good. And having a phone and Instagram account really is such a good way to remember exactly what you ate at every place you stopped, because that's what I do. I look through my Instagram feed to find, where I ate it and where I was.
And I have and everyone listening, you need to check out Paola's Instagram feed, because her photography is absolutely beautiful, and you really capture that light that's coming, that I haven't seen yet, but I can imagine. And I think it's really special with those white buildings. It gives you amazing photography opportunities, I imagine.
Yeah, beautiful, like shadows, and every now and there's a splash of colour, like the border of a door is a different colour, or and the light, like if I try, like when I do my food photo, because I do all my photography for my books too, I do all the location photos and all the food photos. And the food photos, some of them I took actually in Otranto, where I was renting a house there when I was researching Adriatico, which the lady was a fantastic cook, and she had so many plates and cloths and surfaces, so it was really good for photo taking. And when I look at the photos that I took there, I think the light is just different from the Australian light, and no matter how much you edit it here, it doesn't look the same. It's that light in Italy.
Beautiful. Well, and so if you were to stay in Puglia, like I found it really, really difficult to choose a base, and in the end I chose two for our trip. That never happened.
Yeah. But it will one day, Katie.
I know. It's I know, I keep saying to everyone, Rome is eternal. It's waiting. Italy is waiting. Yeah. It's nothing. Yeah. And as you said, they've been making olive oil the same way for 2,000 years. So they're probably not likely to change it in a hurry.
No, it'll still be there. So what were your two bases that you decided? And I think two bases, given the size of the region and the length, the long, narrow one, is the best thing to do. Where were you going to stay?
Well, the thing is, I had decided, and this is very unusual for me because I like to pack things in, is that I decided that we couldn't do the Gargano because it was too hard. And so we were going to just concentrate on the around the southern, the Salento area. But so I wanted to stay in the city. So I decided to stay in Lecce, and I decided to stay in Monopoli because we wanted some spot by the sea. And that's what we decided. But I was also wanting to stay everywhere else.
Yeah, look, it's a tricky one. I think Lecce is a beautiful, they call it the Florence of the South. I don't think it's the Florence of the South, but it's got these, intricate build. It's got a lovely, lovely feel. Lecce is very nice, and I think Lecce is a good place to stay. Monopoli is It's got those little blue painted boats that you'll see photos from Monopoly. I'm sure you did in staying, in planning to stay there. There's beautiful blue and red painted boats that are, the little fishing boat. They're called gozzi, and that's another great place. But where I love the Gargano. I really do. And I do realise that the Gargano is a place you can't go there on the way to anywhere. It's sort of a destination within itself. So for me, how long you have to stay in Bari is if you can get it a month off from work, go for a month. But if you can't do a month, I did it quite well in 2 weeks, realising that I missed the whole of the West Coast. So Taranto, Gallipoli, I've never been there and I would like to go there, and Altamura, which is all the side that's not on the Adriatic. So it's on completely the opposite side of the region. Now, the opposite side of the region is only 30 kilometres away, realising we're not talking about big distances, but it is very long and narrow. And so I think Lecce is a really good point to stay. I think Bari is also a very good point to stay. I really like Bari. It's a bigger town. It's got like a modern part of town too, but Bari Vecchia has got a wonderful feel. I think somewhere inland is good too, like Ostuni. Is another nice place, which is, again, a walled city. Like there, you can eat as much gelato and whatever you want because everything's a hill. You're always walking up and down hills. That's such a good thing about Italy. You can eat 2 gelati a day and walk it all off. And look, in the Gargano, there's a town called Vieste, which has got an amazing beach scene and a whole lot of beach clubs and really beautiful wide beaches. And I know it's out of the way, but if you've got a month, you should definitely give the Gargano a go. It's got no tourists. It's got Italian tourists, and that's it. There's also some beautiful islands that are just off there called the Tremiti Islands, which are stunning, and you catch a boat there only in summer, though, from Peschici. Yeah. Look, and you should stay in, like, if you want to stay in typical accommodation, a masseria is a great place to stay. Now, a masseria are old fortified communities from hundreds of years back where you had a master and people to work on the land, and it was self-contained to and walled so it could defend itself from brigands and pirates if you're near the coast that would come and pillage. So that they're sort of fortified structures, and they're of various sizes, and some of them don't have walls anymore, but they were built so they would be self-sustaining. Many of them they're still abandoned ones, and it's always my dream to find one and buy it and restore it. But people like Colette Dinigan has done that. She has a stunning masseria, not that she rents it out, but she lives in it. But there are many, like Masseria Potenti, which is one that's on Instagram a lot, and I've stayed there. That is absolutely beautiful. They've got a restaurant there, but use it as a base to travel around. They're all on the rather expensive side, but I think it's absolutely worth it. There's plenty of them. Masseria Livelli, which is also a winery. There's one that makes cheese, Masseria Cinque Santi, Masseria Monte Napoleone, where they do everything a chilometro zero, which means at 0 kilometres. So they grow most of their own stuff and then turn it into food. Wow. So Masseria, if you want to stay in the country. Now, if you want to stay in the city, I'm a big believer in Airbnb.
Yeah.
I always stay in Airbnb apartments.
Yeah, because you get extra space and then you can go out and, come back in the day and just chill out. But you also, I was having a good old look, obviously, because I was searching for accommodation, and we were taking the kids with us, so we needed a little bit of extra space. But the decoration, like, they're just so stylish and just so lovely. Oh.
Yeah, there are. And look, with Airbnb, you've got the ability, because the produce is so good, you don't actually want to eat in a restaurant all the time. It's nice if you can buy some of your own stuff, even just to make sandwiches and good cheeses and amazing fresh tomatoes and maybe some marinated, artichokes or something, and then construct food at home, which you can't do in a hotel.
Yeah, that's true. And also there's so much street food there too, right? Which I know you know a lot about.
Yes, yes. So there is lots of street food there, and there's typical street food, and in Bari, in Lecce. And when we talk about food, I can talk a little bit. Or if you'd like me to talk about the food now,
Yeah, just go right ahead. I have no
go.
problem talking about food, Paola.
Okay. So, look, I mean, food is a reason why I guess I travelled in Italy more extensively than I otherwise would. And what attracted me to Puglia is the street food because of the warmer weather down south and in Sicily and in Calabria and in Campania. You do find more street food than you do up north because you can be outside more of the year. And so for street food, it's not just stuff that's sold in a van, it's stuff that you might stand up at a bar and eat. That's sort of the definition that I use. So in Puglia, the street food that we have is something called focaccia barese, which is a focaccia, like a type of bread that is typically from Bari, and it has potato in the dough. So it's got a potato that's been boiled and then mashed and laced through the dough, which makes it really moist. And that's studded with cherry tomatoes and herbs. And so to get that, you'll stand in a bakery and you find the good ones because there's a queue outside and they're Italian. And so you follow them and they'll cut you a piece of it and then weigh it. Because in Italy, all bread and bakery goods is sold by weight. And so you stand there and then you stand outside and it's wrapped in paper and you eat it. So there's focaccia barese. There's panzerotti, which are a pastry that is filled with cheese and tomato. So there's a lot of tomatoes and cheese down in Puglia. And the pastry is sealed over and then they're deep fried. So, anything deep fried is amazing. I also found that one in Bari. And then there is, in Lecce, there's something called the rustico leccese, which is like a little vol au vent thing with cheese and tomato and bechamel. And they're also... That's also amazing. And there is a pasticciotto leccese. So often they're linked to the actual town. So a pasticciotto is a sweet. And when you do go to Lecce, I'll tell you the place where you have to go to find the best pasticciotto leccese. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I do have it because I go there in my tour. And it's a sweet pastry that's filled with custard. And it's often shaped like a little sort of an oval, like a tall oval, so you get special moulds for it. Amazing. But the typical food of Puglia is down the south. They don't eat a lot of meat apart from for celebration days because they're not as well off traditionally. So there's a lot of vegetables, a lot of fava beans or broad beans, and a lot of seafood because most of them have got... there's so much coastline there. So the typical dish of the area is called fave cicoria. So fave is broad beans and cicoria is a chicory. Like Italy has a lot of bitter greens that we don't find here. And, you try and classify them here. There's so many different ones over there that just grow in fields and people just go and collect them because they know what they are. But here you'd have to, you just can't find them here. But we can get chicory in winter. And fava beans or broad beans are very typical of this area. And they don't, we've got broad beans in the shop now and you double peel them and you have them in a salad and they're bright and green. But over there they tend to dry them out. And have them for many months over the winter. And to dry them out, they have a particular festival. So they let the beans grow really big on the vine and then they cut them all down and then they let them dry in the sun until, all the plants and all the pods around the beans all dry out and the beans go really, really hard. And then traditionally what they'd have is the horses then come along and stamp on them to break apart all the dried greenery and plant bits. And because the beans are so hard, the horses' hoofs, now they use a tractor, but traditionally they use horses, and they would break it apart. And then on a day when it was windy, they would this is all done on a ground sheet. They would lift up the ground sheet and all the lighter bits would fly off and all the beans would stay where they were. And so all the beans would be then collected for the year, which is an amazing story of the whole process. It's also like the inventiveness of these people to make do of the little that they have, like the olive oil, the fava beans, the broad beans. And so these beans are then cooked down slowly in water into a mash, and that's all you need, salt and water, until it becomes a thick puree. And then you put on chicory and really good olive oil on it. Now, it sounds like the simplest of dishes, but it is cucina povera, which is poor man's cooking at its best, where it is it's a stunning dish. It really is.
Oh, I'd love to try it. It's just, it's something that you probably wouldn't, well, I'm sure you make it at home, do you?
Yeah, I do, because it's so good and so filling and so nutritious. It's just, and I love it. And the bitter greens are a very acquired taste, but most of Italy does have that taste of bitter. And so fave cicoria is a dish where you've got to try. The other thing you have to try is something called a tiella. Tiella is a one pot dish, and it's traditionally cooked in a terracotta pot, which is called a tiella, which the name comes from. And it's layers. The most famous or well-known tiella is one called tiella cozze e riso. So cozze are mussels, and riso is rice. So it's layers of mussels and rice and and other and some vegetables in there. I think there's a bit of tomato, and that baked slowly in the oven, and that is also delicious. So look, they're really well known for their savoury dishes, making use of what little there is. And then there's all the seafood, like all the the octopus that we talked about before, and the squid. And if you're into it, those oh God, I can't even think the name of them in English. They're those spiny creatures that you get on the rocks and you break them open. They're very much an acquired taste.
Sea anemones. Sea urchins, yeah.
Yeah. So there's, the whole sea urchin thing. If you want to go to a really good restaurant, there's one in Puglia a Mare, which is another town that a lot of people go to. Now, Puglia a Mare is a town that's, again, walled. It's right on the edge of a cliff. But if you go just outside the town, you go down to the beach, which I think is the most photographed beach in Puglia, where you've got these cliffs, you can see the town, and then there's a tiny sandy bit of beach. So there's a restaurant really close by to there called Kikibio, and Kikibio is a really good restaurant.
That beach is so famous, isn't it? And these people just jump off into the water from the cliffs, don't they?
Yeah, they do, from the cliffs opposite where the town is. But you're looking at the town then, which some of the town is actually, built into the cliffs almost. And they're white limestone cliffs, and there's a few vantage points in the town, and you usually just follow the people because everyone's going there, that you can see the whole beach from the town and photograph it, which is a spot where people take photos, but also looking down from the shoreline down onto the beach. And the waters really are clear, crystal blue. In spite of all the ships and everything going up and down the Adriatic, the waters are stunning.
Oh, beautiful. What's the sea like down there? How warm is it?
It's reasonably warm in summer. In winter it's cold.
Yeah.
It doesn't stay. It's a big ocean, so it cools down. But it's beautifully clear. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, the pictures, if you haven't seen it, everyone who's listening, the pictures are absolutely stunning. Just the contrast between the sea and the rocks, and it's just one of those magical scenes that made me want to go, oh, I need to go there straight away. Oh, dear. Really starting to feel like I should be there right now. And
I know. I know. Me too. I was meant to go this year as well.
Yeah, well, we will get there, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how about inland a little bit? I know a lot of people like to go to the Truly villages, don't they? Like the Alberobello and...
Yeah, they do. And look, I've never been.
Jan.
No, they don't interest me. They just, it's the whole, I think, I know people like to go there, and people who I've spoken to have gone there and stayed in a trullo, but to me, it's just not what I do.
Yeah.
So I know, look, and inland you will find grottaglie, the ceramics, and you will find beautiful masserie and olive oil farms and vineyards, of course, because there's always a balance between on use of the land between vines and olive oil. So, you do find a balance of both through inland, but I have not stayed in a trullo, and I have not even seen one. I know, and everyone says it. So, but what about the trulli? And I'm like, oops.
Yeah, but you love the sea, so that sort of makes sense, doesn't it? To be closer to the coast.
Absolutely. It's the Adriatic that got me down to Puglia in the first place. So I'd feel a bit, mean towards it if I abandoned it for the inland. So I haven't been there much.
Yeah, so the Masseria, I mean, I really wanted to stay in one actually, but unfortunately the time we were going, which was early March, a lot of them weren't open actually. So that's one thing to consider.
Absolutely. So when you are considering is when to go is high season, so it's after Easter. But even then, there's usually a few slow weeks immediately after Easter, and it depends when Easter falls in the year, because sometimes it can be really quite late in April, other times it's even in March. But March you will find very little open. Because they just don't have enough tourists to make it, or people coming through to make it worthwhile to open. They're mainly small operators down there, and many of them are family run, which makes it really nice, but they just can't afford to open. So they'll, focus on different things within their business portfolio, which is usually growing things or making olive oil. Like everyone has, even people with a small amount of land on a house, they'll still have some olive trees and they'll still make their own olive oil and take it to a local press, so they can have their own olive oil. You do need to travel in the warmer months, so spring through to autumn or fall if you're American, and listening from there. And if you are, hello. But winter, I still think it's a lovely time to go, but you won't find as many places open, and you won't be able to avail yourself of the water as much.
Yeah, that was a good tip. We just happened to have that time available, and I wanted to go see and take some photos. Lots of people in them. Now, I think I would appreciate having lots of people in them, to be honest. So
yeah, and look, it's a land there's not a lot of people in Puglia. A lot of residents there, and there's a lot of abandoned masseria because people can't afford the money to set it, to bring it to life again. Maybe it doesn't have running water. Maybe it doesn't have electricity. There's all sorts of building issues in many parts of Italy with changing historical buildings or very expensive to get electricity to a place if they even allow it. So there are some challenges there, and it is a quiet part of the world when there's no tourists around, but it is beautiful because you've still got the local people there and they're still just as warm.
Yeah, so would you need a lot of Italian when you go down there, or can you get by with English?
I think that in the larger masserie, so ones that are have more rooms and are open for longer, you will get by with English, and in the larger towns, you will get by with English, but it is useful to have Italian for all the smaller towns, the beautiful towns of Maglie, Tricase, Nardo, Castro, or Nardo, sorry. You do need Italian. You won't find people there that speak English even in the bar. You might find a young person who can speak a few words, but Italian is... But that's it's also part of the beauty of it, because it's managed to stay away from creating big structures for tourists, which detracts from the attractiveness of it. So there's a balance. And the other thing, you need a car to get around. Yep. You need to drive. There's just, there is a train that goes through to the major spots, and there are the occasional buses. But for buses, I mean, it's easy to travel on buses now because your phone's got a GPS thing and you can work out where you are because the driver might not speak English. So, it's a balance of having the beauty, having the convenience of having English as well as having the beauty of it being in its natural, state, which is without people that speak English. Yeah.
So getting around is I think you definitely need a car, but is the driving, is it quite straightforward? Like it's not crazy like Milan or something like that?
Oh, no. So there are not many people down there, so the driving is straightforward. You will find there's a major road that goes down along most of the Adriatic coast, so through the back of the Gargano, through a town called Foggia, which is a large town in northern Puglia, and then down it loops towards Bari, and then a road down to Brindisi, one to Taranto, and then one to Lecce. They're all pretty major roads, but not very wide. Sometimes they're 2 lanes or just 1 lane going in either way. They're good roads. They're pretty good roads. And they're not really busy. So, for someone who's been a bit scared of driving on the different side of the road, like we have to, it's not that difficult. Just have your GPS. I always get an Italian SIM card when I travel all the time. I find the plans are absolutely worth it for the money. So I can have data all the time, not just when I'm in Wi-Fi. I think it's worth the expense. And then you can, Google map it and, get instructions on where to turn and whatever. And that really helps when you're driving. I spend that little bit extra and get an automatic car because I find the balance of, particularly when I first get there, driving on a different side of the road, knowing which way to approach roundabouts and which way to turn. If I have to deal with gears and clutches at the same time, particularly initially, if I haven't driven there for a long time, I find it too much, and so I'd get the automatic. There's not many because mainly they're manual cars because they don't use many automatic cars initially, but I think it's worth the expense for the safety because
Yeah, you just want to have your wits about you, don't you?
Completely. So, it is a place where you are much better off to drive. Now, you can get by if you just catch, get a plane into Brindisi and then get a bus out to the city from the train station or a taxi, and then you walk and then you catch a bus to another major city or a train. There aren't many of them, but you will find some. But you will miss all those small particular towns. You will not get to a masseria. Masseria are always out in the country. They might have a system whereby they can come and collect you, but they might charge a bit. So you just have to, I think plan your trip quite well unless you've got a car, and then you can be a little bit more spontaneous.
Yeah, I know my co-host Josie's daughters did a bit of a trip to Puglia on their own as a bit of a girls' trip, the girls in their 20s. And,
what fun.
Yeah, I know, amazing. And they tried to do it with buses and trains and ended up in some guy's car.
Oh.
Which, I think they probably, on reflection, probably think a car might have been a better idea. And the other thing to note about the public transport is it probably doesn't operate as often as you would think, especially on weekends and public holidays. So, yeah, you can't sort of assume that everything's going to be running as you would expect in where you live.
Oh, yeah. And look, it might not even run on a Sunday,
Yep.
Like there's just no buses, or on a Saturday it's just one bus in and one bus out. So you have to stay somewhere overnight because the same bus that came in that dropped you in is the one going out as well.
Yeah. And everyone's, quite rightly is sitting down enjoying their Sunday lunch and not worried about getting from A to B. And that's the whole part of the charm. Really.
Exactly. But, travel is so much easier now than it was 20 years ago because you've got the internet. The power of the internet is amazing. I follow, I think Instagram, social media is fantastic for finding out where other people have been and to follow their trip pretty much and to see, you often find out how they get around and where they stay. So there are a few people that I have followed through Puglia over the years that have actually given me insight in towns to go to and restaurants to go to.
Yeah, I think Along Dusty Roads is the one that a lot of people know that is kind of, they do a pretty good job of Puglia, I think. They've got beautiful photos as well, don't they?
Yeah. Look, I actually go to people, like there's a fellow called Frank Cresenzano in New York who's a chef, but he's originally Pugliese from the Gargano. And when he goes to Puglia, he posts all the time and he describes and when in his stories when he's there, I always say, oh, he's gone there, take a photo of that, it must be a good restaurant. So it's more than just recommended travel sites, it's following an individual person whose taste you might trust.
Right, okay.
Elizabeth Minkeely is another one who would go to good restaurants or, stay in good towns. So,
yes, I always recommend her. I have all her apps on my...
Oh, do you?
Yes, she's got apps that you can, and she's got specific ones for different regions of Italy. Some are paid, and some are she's generously giving away her knowledge for free. And yes, I swear by Elizabeth. Actually, she's amazing.
Good. Her daughter Sophie is good too.
Oh, okay. I need to get back on Instagram. I guess sort of gave
Uh,
up on Instagram for a while.
Katie, Instagram's where it's at.
Okay. I just find it's a bit of a time suck for me, but because I can go down a rabbit hole and never come out,
Yeah. Put an alarm on or something.
I think I need to do that. But yes, there's so many beautiful places to check out. Now, did you have a particular place that really sums up to you the essence of Puglia?
That I think Bari. And I've already talked a bit about Bari, but Bari is just, for me, it's right on the water, which to me is important. It's got a great market. I think going to a market gives you the essence of a town where you see what people buy, like a fresh food market. You've got a fish market, you've got a fresh food market that's outdoors. And they make orecchietti there. I'm a pasta lover. I'm a pasta maker. I make pasta about 5 days a week. So look, to me, Puglia and the people are so friendly. And it's sort of halfway between the Salento and the Gargano, so I'm smack bang in the middle. So I know I've talked already about Bari, but to me, Bari sums it up.
Oh, okay. Well, tell us about the pasta then, because it's funny, because we were having dinner last night and my son said, we were telling a story about my husband's family, and he said, your nonno, he used to have pasta 7 days a week without fail.
Yep.
And Zach said, I would have pasta 7 days a week.
Really? Where is your husband from, Katie?
He's from Calabria. They're from Calabria and just outside Naples. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Well, pasta is so the pasta of southern Italy is made with something called semola rimacinata, which is semolina flour, and it's just mixed with water. So semolina flour is the heart of the durum wheat, so it's a type of wheat, so it's not gluten-free, even though you find it next to polenta in the supermarket, and it's just mixed with hot water to make all these delicious shapes. It's a pasta that's thick, it's dense, it catches the sauce really well, it's filling, it's high in protein, it's fantastic. It's none of this, eggs, fine flour business, like pasta with 14 egg yolks or something. That's for the north, who had a lot of who have got a lot of chickens and they can use up all their eggs that way. In the south they didn't. So the typical shapes of pasta are the orecchietti, which are the little ears that they look like little domes that you shape over your thumb, and then the other shape is maccheroni, which you will also find in Calabria, and that is like a tube of pasta that you run a metal skewer, often the spoke of a bicycle or an umbrella spoke, or a square cut metal skewer, and you run it through the middle of this narrow rope of pasta to make like an indentation. So it almost forms a circle, but not quite. It's sort of open on one edge. And you put the orecchietti, which look like, little turned caps. They don't look like ears at all to me. They look like these little sort of flipped caps, and maccheroni together, and you get a pasta that's called maritati. Now, maritati in southern dialect means married in a southern dialect. So when you've got these two shapes, you've got the long shape and the round shape, they're married. So, you can sort of let your imagination run wild with that one. But when they're together, they're married. And that's a very typical pasta shapes of southern Italy. Nowadays things sort of move across regions and borders and everything, but that was typically what you ate in Puglia.
And the sauce isn't mainly tomato-based down there?
Yeah, so mainly tomato-based because tomatoes grow so well, and also with bitter greens, or with with chicory, or with broccoli, something called broccoli rabe or cime di rapa in Italian, and it's a variation of broccoli where there's a lot of leaves and very small floral heads. You use most of the stem as well as the floral head and the leaf. And the floral head it might have some flowers on it, but it might just look like a tiny little broccoli. And you use the whole thing. They're called, and that's cime di rapa, that are mixed with, cooked in, like sauteed in a pan with a bit of, the good things, garlic, anchovies and chili. I think that's the triumvirate, the three important things in nearly everything for Southern Italian cooking, is those three. Cook those in the pan and blanch your greens in the pasta cooking water, and then, cook them, saute them for a little bit in the olive oil with the garlic, chili and anchovy. Then cook your pasta and stir that in. That's the simplest variation, and you can have some grated pecorino cheese, which is like a hard aged pecorino cheese to give it that nice saltiness. You could also put some pork sausage in there if you wanted to be a bit non-traditional, because they wouldn't have very much pork, because it's something for special occasions. So that's a non-tomato sauce. But otherwise there's a lot of tomato based sauce, and also seafood, mussels, bits of, octopus and cuttlefish and squid. Also, artichokes. A lot of artichokes growing down there.
Yum. There's some really good ones here in Australia at the moment. I saw them at my local greengrocers. They look big. Might be coming.
Well, they're big. To know if an artichoke is good, you've got to really prod it. I know in these coronavirus days we shouldn't be touching everything, but there's no way to tell if an artichoke is good unless it looks really floppy. To feel it should feel firm. If it feels all soft, that's like old, really old. So those big globe ones, they're great for stuffing.
Yeah, oh good, oh yummy. Well, but just so everyone knows, if you're in the market in Italy, do not go and handle the produce, okay? Because that is not what's done, is it?
Yeah, well, no, you go and talk to someone, you say, which ones are the good ones? Tell me, I want a firm one, and they'll feel it. Although in some places, but yeah, you're right, they don't like it, but some places you can do it. And it really, Italian supermarkets, like when I was in Puglia that week researching in Otranto, researching Italian, not Italian street food, Adriatic on my second book, I found the most amazing artichokes in the supermarket. Like they had this big wooden stand in the middle of the floor, which had hundreds of them with these really long stems and leaves still attached. And I was able to touch everything in the super, although, they want you to put gloves on. And I got 12 of them for €5.
Wow.
I know. And here they're $3 each.
It was an artichoke fest.
It sure was.
Stuffed artichokes, delicious. Oh, we're so lucky. Oh, wow. Paola, this has been such an amazing chat. I'm so desperate to go and do my actual trip that I was wanting to do. Now, I know our listeners will definitely want to stay in touch and check out your gorgeous photos and recipes and find out more about your books and tour in Puglia. How can they do that?
Okay, so they can find, I always lead people to Instagram. So my Instagram handle is Italy on my mind, all one word, and that's because Italy is always on my mind. So Italy on my mind. So through my profile there, that will take you to a list of my website and everything. But otherwise, you can go directly to my website, which is italyonmymmind.com. Nice and simple. I've also got a Facebook page, but I don't post on that one very often. But you can still find directions to my website from my Facebook as Italy on My Mind. And my books, the two books I've written are called Italian Street Food, which is 80 recipes of pretty simple street food, a lot from southern Italy and quite a few from Puglia. And my second book is called Adriatico, Recipes and Stories from Italy's Adriatic coast. And that's got 7 chapters that focus on different geographical points of Italy, including 2 chapters on Puglia, because it's such a long, narrow region, one on the Gargano and one on the Salento. And people have used that book as a travel guide quite a few people have planned their trip, as you mentioned that you looked at it, through that book. So, and I stop in other places like the Traboco coast and the Venetian lagoon and the Gulf of Trieste. And my tour of Puglia, which was cancelled for this year, but it was not cancelled, it was rescheduled for October 2021. And it's run in conjunction with a group called Southern Visions Travel that are based in Polignano a Mare, or is it Monopoli? It's one of the two. They're based there, and they're run by an Italian called Antonello Losito, who has spent time in America, so he speaks English really well, and he runs it with a lady called Ali Pike, who is an English lady who has just been naturalised as an Italian citizen, and she's fallen in love with Puglia, so she lives in Ostuni. So they organise boutique tours, small group tours for, even for a couple who want to, contact them and they'll plan the tour, they'll organise everything for you. But they also run a few bigger tours, such as mine, which is food-based, and it's a 6-day tour, and we stay in 2 different macellerie, and we focus each day on a different ingredient: olive oil, wine, cheese, seafood, and so on. Oh. So it's a hard life, really. There's a lot of eating and a lot of visiting beautiful places, and some free time as well, and lots of chances to take beautiful photos too, because I'm always got a camera attached to me. I love photography. And one more thing, my third book that I'm just about to submit to my publisher, Smith Street Books, is about the Istrian Peninsula, where my father is from, which is now mainly Croatia and a tiny bit of Slovenia and an even tinier bit of Italy. But it was Italy when my father was born there, and before that it was the Austro-Hungarian Empire when my grandfather was born there. So go figure. It's been everything, and I'm talking about the sort of the historical and the nostalgic dishes from that area in my third book.
Oh, beautiful. It is an absolutely stunning area, and I think we might have to have you back on the show to talk about that too, because I have been there and I loved it so much.
Oh,
so
fantastic. I can talk about that ad nauseum, because I'm in the middle. I've just written, 56,000 words on it and, 80 recipes, and I couldn't go. I was meant to go this year again to do more research and to take more food, location photos. And also last year I happened to break my ankle when I was in Trieste, so I couldn't go to Istria, but I still had enough photos from the 2 previous trips to populate the book. Full of nostalgic black and white photos, old family photos, old recipes from the 1800s, 1900s, and lots of love in the book, lots of nostalgia, old letters, old love letters, stuff like that. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Oh, seriously. So everyone, all our listeners, if you go straight away to Paola's Instagram, you can dip right into her dreamy world. Her photos are just beautiful. Grazie, Paola. I'm looking forward to this new cookbook and to learn more about Istria, because I think I only scratched the surface when I went there. But I am also pining for Puglia, and I've actually threatened to swim there to Italy in recent episodes. But I guess like everyone else, I'm just going to have to be a bit patient and wait. So
we will. Well, let's hope 2021 is able to, open up with things like rapid testing. I'm sure there are, everyone wants us to travel. The airlines, the tour operators, the people who go on tours, who want it. Everyone wants to travel. So I'm sure people will put their utmost energy to making it happen. And hopefully October 2021 will be a goer.
Well, I'm crossing everything. Thank you so much for coming on the show today to share about Puglia and all its delicious dishes with us.
Thanks, Katie. I've loved talking about Puglia, and I can't wait to go back.
Are you a sea and water person? I definitely am, and I can't wait to go and explore Puglia and that Adriatic coastline. On an empty stomach, I must admit. If you're a regular listener, you know how much I love seafood, and I'm sure I'd be in heaven trying all those dishes. Another thing I really wanted to mention was that I love how Paola mentioned the masseria as a great alternative accommodation option. Similar to the ones you'll find in Sicily, if you've never been to Italy before, you might not be aware that this type of lodging exists. And they're really a unique and special places to stay, and it's one of those things that you won't be able to do in your own country, so you might as well have a go and check it out. But I love that they're kind of like mini resorts, and they're very nice. Okay, so did you have a favourite tip or insight from this episode? We'd love to know. You can drop us a line to ciao@untolditaly.com or let us know on our Facebook page. It also looks like I have to get back onto Instagram soon too. Let's face it, I can never have too much Italy inspiration. We put all the info from this episode onto our website at untolditaly.com/46 for episode 46. So you can note down all the towns and dishes that Paola mentioned and check out her gorgeous cookbooks and her mouth-watering foodie tour of Puglia. There's also details of how you can join our Untold Italy Insiders program, where we will discuss this episode too. In the meantime, have a lovely week, stay safe and well, and ciao for now.